Hi, I'm Erica from the Alameda String Academy, and we are going to talk about the song Long, Long Ago from Suzuki book number 1. Now, there are 3 basic things that I wanted to cover in this tutorial. One is the smooth bow stroke. The second thing is the use of our 4th finger. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is using that smooth bow stroke and changing how much of it we use, which is what we call bow distribution, to really make the sound blossom with differences in our volume or in our dynamic. So first of all, let's talk about the smooth bow stroke. And the rhythm is really quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, eighth, eighth, or ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti. So it's a combination of slow and fast notes. In fact, at the end of each sort of little phraselet, we have a half note, which is even longer. So ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta. And that last note really wants to be slower than all the other notes, and we still want to keep it smooth. We want to try to keep our bow moving as much as possible throughout this song. So a great way to practice this, I always love to practice things in my scales, but you could also just practice the rhythm of the song on an open string. And the benefit of doing that is you can really hear, if you just play it all on one note, you can really hear what your bow is doing and when it kind of wants to hiccup or kind of catch. And you can listen to your tone or the quality of sound that you're making to listen for your sound to really ring. And we're wanting to have just enough pressure on our bow to get the string to speak, but not so much pressure that we get a kind of grinding sound, especially on our up bows. We don't want to press the bow into the string as we go. So that means, especially on our up bows, we're going to want to make sure that our elbow level and our elbow our forearm here is sort of leading the way on the up bow. So that our hand has room and space to stay flexible. Our wrist wants to be flexible, and all of our fingers want to be flexible as well. If we can maintain a gentle hold on the bow, especially on our up bows and on our down bows too, then we'll be able to manage the amount of pressure, the amount of weight that our fingers put in the bow as we go through our downs and ups, and especially the changes. Okay, and as we play in the upper half of the bow on these long notes, we're looking to make room here so that our fingers have plenty of room to do what they want. Let's look at the difference between what happens if I don't have a lot of room and if I just kind of let my elbow stay down. Then I really lose my range of motion, my mobility. My ability to move really decreases. And so if I want to be able to use more bow and to keep it smooth, then I'm going to let my elbow rise gently too. Not super far. I don't want to be sticking my elbow up higher than my wrist. In fact, they're kind of buddies. They sort of follow each other along a lot of times, even on the G string. Okay, any string that we're on, they sort of stay on the same level, the same plane together. All right, so that's enough talk about smooth bows. Now let's talk about our 4th finger. Now in the last song we played, the May song, we talked about being able to make artistic decisions with what fingers we choose to use. And we can do the same thing here in Long, Long Ago. Sometimes having this bright open E is just perfect because it's just what we need for the energy of the song. Say, take Song of the Wind. Okay, it has this nice ringing, open kind of, the sun is like on 110% outside sound to it. Okay, but for this song, for Long, Long Ago, we might choose to look for a slightly different kind of E sound on this because we're playing something that is a slower tempo. The tempo is written moderato, which means moderate tempo. Long, Long Ago is, it's a song about a memory. So maybe we're feeling a little bit more nostalgic. Maybe we're thinking of something sweet back in our memory, or maybe something sweet in our imagination. You can make your own story here, okay? And maybe we might decide that we want to play around with using our fourth finger to find a different tone to fit that sort of the story that we want to tell. So here is the first line of the piece, the first 4 measures, and I'm going to play with that smooth bow, and I'm going to use my fourth finger on my E to sort of make it sound a little bit sweeter. Okay, now I'm going to play it with an open E so you can hear the difference. All right, well, so you have some choices there, and guess what? It's totally up to you. Or up to your teacher. If they're making a strong suggestion, then they're probably trying to teach you something in that moment. But it's always great to experiment and think about your own ideas. It's sort of like deciding what shade of a certain color that you want to paint with. Not every green is the same green. Not every yellow is the same yellow. And so, not every E needs to sound the same as well. Now, there's another opportunity to make that artistic decision to use your fourth finger or not. In measure 11 of this piece, we have an echo. Measure 9 is forte. Measure 11 is mezzo piano. And so clearly, T.H. Bailey, our composer, is asking for something very different than what we just played. So if this is our forte in measure 9, then we have an assignment from the composer to find a different idea to fit his description that he's written in the piece, which is not only mezzo piano, but it's mezzo piano followed by a diminuendo. Okay, that means we're getting softer. All right, that leads me to the third and final thing that I wanted to talk about here, which is giving this piece an interesting and beautiful shape, okay? And a lot of this is up to us as the artist, as the musician, to interpret, but we also need to follow the clues, the roadmap that the composer has left for us in the music, and that's our guiding line, okay? So if I was to just look at our dynamic roadmap here for Long, Long Ago, then I would find some pretty interesting things in terms of what the composer is asking us to do. I would notice that we start at a certain dynamic. We start at mezzo forte, which is medium strong. We crescendo for 2 measures, and then we diminuendo for 2 measures. We do the same thing again. Mezzo forte, crescendo for 2 measures, diminuendo for 2 measures. So we have this beautiful arc that happens 2 times. And then measure 9 is forte. It's a step up. We're going even higher than we had gone before with our dynamic level here. So keep that in mind when we start the song, that we need to leave some space in our bow stroke in the how much weight we're putting in the bow through our fingers, okay? That we need to leave more room for more volume in the middle of the piece in measure 9. And then we have our echoes. We have forte, da da da, da 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 da, and then our echo, da 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 da. And the last line blossoms again with our mezzo forte, da 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 da, da 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 da. Okay, so I think one of the most exciting things about this song, this is actually a childhood favorite for me, was to be able to tell these nostalgic stories through this song, and to think of a memory that I really loved, or think of a moment in a hike, or with my grandparents, or reading a story with my mom, or that kind of thing, where I just I feel like I'm getting a hug from that memory, and then I would play it in this piece. So you're going to hear a playthrough now. I'm going to perform the entire thing for you, and then there will be another track where you hear some playthroughs as well. But I'm just going to play around a little bit with getting these, using my bow to help me to make these shapes. And the more bow I use, the more volume I can get. Also, the more I kind of sink my fingers into the bow with a soft, gentle hold. Okay, I want to have all of my fingers feeling soft and bendy as I lean into the stick. Then that's going to help me to get this flexible weight in the bow that I need in order to get a smooth bow, which is what the song calls for. So I'm going to use a little less in the beginning, and then a little bit more at the top of my crescendos, and then a little bit less. And then I'm going to save the most bow ever in the whole world for the forte moment.